Sammy, baby, talk to me.
Is that how you want to open the pod now?
Yeah, I want to do like a sort of Hollywood vibe at the start.
Oh, okay.
Sammy, baby, what's happening?
Does anyone in Hollywood actually talk like that, do you think?
I don't know. You go there more than me.
You were there recently. You were hanging out with all the skids in the parking lot?
That's true. Yeah, I was. And they were all taking meetings with one another and trying to sell shows about anti-heroes to Netflix.
Complex white men who are bad but good. My opening for the podcast this week was going to be like, welcome to Blink 155, the internet's most positive podcast about Mark Hoppus. And just really lean into the idea that we have been exclusively kind and complimentary to the band's, perfect discography throughout our 34 and counting episodes.
Because is this the one? Like, is this the one?
This is gotta be the one.
You're not gonna cancel the guest?
I won't cancel the guest. Yeah, a couple episodes ago, we were supposed to have a guest who I truly hope has brought you, Mark Hoppus, to this podcast for the first time. And I had to cancel our plans because I'm a terrible friend and a flake.
Which is good. Don't listen to that episode, Mark.
Yeah, this is the episode that you want to listen to, Mark Hoppus. And so I just want to say, So
there's lots of segments on this show. There's Leave Your Mark, where we talk about the deep marks that Mark Hoppus has left on society as a whole.
Mm-hmm. There's High Water Mark, and that's where we sort of, in the context of the song, sort of determine where Mark contributed sort of the most memorable moment, within that sort of 3-minute epic. That's an important segment on the show.
And then there's we try to bridge the gap between people who are Mark Hoppus fans and people who have maybe are not into him anymore and side with Tom Moore, and that's called From Hop Us to Hop Them. So that all these, it's almost rude to just be telling Mark about this when everyone else has put in the hours and knows all these segments already.
It's true. This is a bit of a previously on, though. We've got to bring, again, Mark up to speed. It's a pleasure to have you with us on this podcast where we mostly talk about...
Mark John Hoppus, I believe. Actually, I don't know. Does Mark Hoppus have a middle name?
Probably. We've talked about it so much on this podcast that I don't think we need to reiterate it.
It's also, we talk about Hoppus stats, like it's as if it's like there's a baseball card because we've established baseball, pop punk goes together.
Yeah, that's actually a real thing. Yeah.
Mark Allen Hoppus, which he likes to be known as Ma, the abbreviation.
Yeah, we knew that, yeah.
So good old Ma, born in Ridgecrest, California.
Mm-hmm. We knew that, yeah.
It's a pretty long Wikipedia. I don't know if Mark wants me to read it to him, but I could.
The best thing about us subtly trying, and that was very subtle, obviously, but anytime, like, I'm editing an episode and I realize one of us is sort of researching while the other one's talking, like, you can very clearly hear, like, tap, tap, tap.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, it's actually interesting because Immanuel Kant has a theory that ties into the ideas of online songs, and I'd like to explore it right now.
It's true. I think you can still, because I listen to the show, I can still hear typing, but often that typing is you writing down audio cues, writing out the parts where you want to edit out your racial epithets and whatnot. So it's pretty. But there is actually, and this was, and I'm going to ruin a segue again, but this was a completely accidental segue. But speaking of middle names, this is pretty crazy. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know about. Actually, what's your middle name, Samuel?
It's Bruce
Sutherland.
It's Bruce. Samuel Bruce Sutherland.
You're not serious, are you?
Yeah, why would I lie about my middle name?
I don't know.
And say something like pretty normal. Like why?
Well, yeah, but that's almost like a disarmingly normal name. That it's like when somebody names their dog John, and you're like, your dog's name is John. Like, shouldn't it be like Bruce is not a middle name? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, you feel like relegating it to the middle of the name is doing.
In fact,
disservice?
Samuel seems more like a middle name.
Like Bruce. Bruce Samuel Sutherland does feel like a name for sure.
I have so much more respect for you when you say that.
Right. And what do your middle name is in your email, but I'm still forgetting it.
Yeah, it's Josiah Edward Hughes.
Yeah. Why did you put your middle name in your email? And I'm now talking very explicitly about your personal email on the podcast.
Well, don't worry about no one will be able to guess which at it is. It's not a very common one.
It's one of the obscure ats.
I don't care. Send me all your fucking shit. I have like 50,000 unread emails. I don't give a fuck. Send me whatever you want. Sign me up for anything. I don't care. Fuck
so,
you.
Josiah Edward Hughes, what was the point that you were trying to make about middle names before being derailed by my own very regal one?
First of all, I didn't sign up for Gmail fast enough. I was using a Shaw one for a long time, and now I've just given away what I use. But there's like a bodybuilder named Josiah Hughes out there, so I assume he got the regular one, and I had to use my middle name.
That's tough. Do you ever think about just like becoming a bodybuilder and assuming his identity?
Yeah.
Just fully talented Mr. Ripleying him?
Before I get to my point, I want to say one other thing about a missed opportunity. You know how like rappers, I think some of our friends have been talking about this on Facebook recently, but rappers have now like sold their Facebook pages and their social medias to like these weird marketing brands and stuff. And it's like a total cash grab where they show like spiders coming out of nipples or whatever the fuck internet shit. You know what I'm talking about? Like
no, and as that sentence went on, it got crazier and crazier.
Yeah,
so,
like Snoop. If you go to Snoop Dogg's Facebook page, it'll be like some post World Star shit about like a woman who had slept with all her students and then punched the principal in the face and got like just like these ridiculous, clearly fake stories that are paid by tons of ad dollars for people to click on.
we should do that. Should we make a Blink-155 promo video and put it on Snoop's page?
Or we should like sell our socials to a big brand once. But my point is, every rapper does this. It's like some sort of like social media cash share thing. And when I first signed up for Instagram, my username was Waka Flocka, and literally the real Waka Flocka Flame had to get a different username. And I wish I would have kept it because I bet you he would have bought it from me eventually. Like, you know, we've talked about this before. People pay a shit ton of money for a username. But one day I was like, I'm going to change my username. And then Waka Flocka was gone forever. So really using my own name and stuff has not paid off very well.
Yeah, that's a huge mistake. Did you say that was a segue? Like, what were?
Here's the big reveal. Here's the big reveal.
Yeah, because like you just sort of
speaking of middle names, look at what I just sent you. Someone discovered this. The person on Reddit named Bone Swag discovered this. So Tom DeLonge's middle name is Matthew.
Yeah.
And Matt Skiba's middle name is Thomas.
Wow, Josiah.
That's fucked. That's crazy.
Those are two like pretty normal ass waspy names, man.
Yeah, but think about it. They're the two guys. They're the two guys who switched places, and now I'm questioning everything. Now I don't know if they could ever be in a super 4-piece lineup like I dreamed. Because I think if they were together, the world would implode.
Wow, Josiah, this is another one of your classic rabbit holes.
Dear head, shut up. I can't listen no more. It's late, so shut up. It's one night too much to ask for.
Yeah, you were very like not excited about it, but I know that you like it. I know that you like that fact. It's obviously a good fact.
Yeah, sorry. Look, I was trying to play it cool so often as the basic normie of the pod. I'm like, well, this is great. And for once I wanted to try on the detached laissez-faire attitude of a Josiah. And to be honest, it's just not me. It's not me.
Okay. While you were just talking about whatever, I just went down another rabbit hole of a potential horrible intro we could have done.
Which is?
I mean, how mad are you going to get at me if I send you something very not safe for work, right? You're not at work, so it's fine,
I'm not at work.
Right?
You think it's 10 o'clock at night here?
Yeah, so it's fine, right? If I send you something gross, like you're not going to get mad?
I mean, how gross?
Well,
like,
I guess we'll find out.
Like gross, like I'm going to go to jail, or just like gross, like tub girl. Oh, that
like we could have said rabbit girl, like rabbit hole, like this, like.
So Josiah, king of the visual gags on the audio medium, has just sent me the Google image search for rabbit vagina. So thanks. Again, so we're not talking about a Tom song. Rabbit Hole, of course, is a Mark song, our favorite member of Blink 182, and someone whose work we have celebrated consistently over 34 episodes of this podcast. Josiah, you're the one who suggested we do Rabbit Hole. Was it just so you could send me photos of rabbits' holes, or is it because you love this song?
Do you have a fear of rabbits' holes?
I don't have a fear.
What's that?
It's still open. I haven't closed it yet. I'm looking at this.
What's that fear of holes we were talking about that one time on here?
Who cares?
Rabbit holophobia.
Honestly, the one problem I have with this, it's not the holes that are bothering me, but there's like a series. It's people sort of,
like pinching it open.
Kind of pinching it open because it looks like it's kind of buried in the fur. But the second Google image result, like most of these are just like normal like animal vaginas, but the second one, it looks like maybe it's like a prolapsed like rabbit rectum
the second
or
one
something.
is very fucked.
So the second one kind of looks like something from like it looks like
very Cronenberg.
It's very Cronenberg. It's like from a horror
The Brood.
film. It's super The Brood. Yeah. Otherwise, what I'm looking at doesn't disturb me because I'm, a mature adult. But,
Well, the other ones are actually like pretty cute because it's just like a tuft of hair and then just like a little like wet pink area. It's really nice. It's actually quite a nice image.
it is. Again, I haven't closed it yet. I'm just sort of gazing at it. Enjoying
Sam,
our time together.
you were saying that somewhat sarcastically or whatever this level of smarminess we're on right now. You were saying that we've been celebrating all the songs. Now, Mark, plug your ears for a minute. We've not always been kind to every song, but I would argue that we're still celebrating them all by giving this much time and care to them and sort of cradling them like a soft rabbit's vagina. I think we're really, truly celebrating them all. Don't you think?
I mean, I agree. And, we've talked about this before as I've sort of struggled with, the concern that I have about members of Blink-182 eventually listening to a 2-hour podcast about one of their songs. It's an unlikely scenario, but a man can dream. And sort of worrying that in our sort of occasional barbed critique, that they would see scorn as opposed to love. But I think, think about family, right? Like, you can be honest with your family. You can be mean to your family, but you love them. I mean, there's no one you love more than your family, but often they're the people that you're the cruelest to. And in that way, I feel that we are already family with Blink-182. And I would encourage them to consider just like a preliminary restraining order as I continue the sentence. Starting to feel a little swim fan here. And, maybe they shouldn't listen to this, actually.
I mean, in the same way that our own Twitter followers of the pod see us as family now.
Yes.
We see Blink-182 as family.
It's
so
true.
I assume Blink-182 probably are like at Milo from the Descendants' house in the bushes, like imagining that they're in the house with him eating dinner. So there's just like these layers of obsession that sort of go up the food chain of content.
Yeah,
I want to die from saying that.
It's a Russian nesting doll of pop punk content, and we're, I think, somewhere in the middle right now, which is like quite a cozy place to be. Just like being the spoon in the middle of a polyamorous couple.
We're like the rabbit's taint right now.
We're truly the rabbit's taint in all this. I'd like to mention, by the way, you did say that the listeners of the pod, in many ways, are our family. Because we talk to them more than we talk to our actual family, and I'm still a little surprised that no one has taken advantage of the wife of the pod tier available on the Blink-155 Patreon.
That's true.
Of course, it's where we post all of the best exclusive content, like Josiah's deep dive on Garnier Fructis, Josiah's 33 1/3 pitch for Dude Ranch, Josiah's brother's cleavagey photos.
Why? I've noticed all of the Patreon content is coming from one half of the.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
It is interesting. And yet we split the money 50-50.
I feel like maybe we need to talk off pod about this.
Yeah, we'll put a pin in that. We'll table that. So,
Anyways,
there's a tier though that is wife of the pod. Yeah. Of course, currently that position is held by our actual wives. But for $10,000 a month, even our real life wives would understand. So just if you've got a couple of bucks to spare and you love the pod, I think about throwing a couple of ducats our way.
I mean, at this point, there are some people who might actually do that one day, and that is so scary and horrifying. So please don't do that ever.
We're also getting really close to the tier of Patreon where, Josiah, you start recording covers again for your YouTube channel. So if you haven't checked those out, Josiah does have a couple of great covers. All Star.
Did you see what I tweeted today? One of the things, I've been tweeting a lot today. I've been on one today, but I was on the Blink-182 subreddit.
I did see this. Yeah,
this is not a bit, as I'm known to do occasionally. I was on the Blink-182 subreddit, and there was like a promoted ad at the top, and it said, "There's no shame in getting help. Talk to an online therapist tonight. You're worth it."
You're like, why are you doing this to me?
Isn't that the CoverGirl slogan?
Why are you doing this to me? Sorry.
No, you're worth it. You're worth it.
Yeah, that's true. We should get a therapist on the pod because, I mean, people who have been listening since day one will know, mercifully, you've abandoned this and just replaced it with meme lords. But for a long time, the guests that you wanted to have were like doctors of music.
Yeah, like
that was
academia.
Your obsession. Yeah, you wanted academics on.
I feel like Daj last week did a pretty academic deconstruction of it. And I also forgot, because I always call him Daj, but I finally have my own Chris in my corner.
This is a bit of housekeeping. So one, we did not acknowledge that you finally brought a Chris into the pod, which of course has been exclusively my domain. For a long time, I exclusively brought Chris's as guest of the pod, but you've now crossed over into Chris world. Welcome. It's lovely.
I've crisscrossed. Yeah, it's true.
And another just minor bit of housekeeping is last week I made the mistake of suggesting that official beer of the pod, Blood Brothers, had only given me 3 bottles of their delicious Toronto brewed beer, when in fact I was given 7 bottles of that beer. And so,
wow. So now this is just a 99 bottles of beer podcast.
I'm just going to keep
sing
going
that fucking song.
I mean, we got a
Every
lot of
week.
time to fill for some reason.
It's true. Yeah. By contract, we have to. I mean, okay, let's fucking talk about this goddamn song already.
Wow. You want to talk about the song? We're only 17 minutes into recording, and you want to talk about the song?
Well, I'm not saying I don't want to take my sweet ass time and go on myriad tangents.
Yeah.
But
all right. Well, let's talk about these sweet pink holes.
Hi, Sam.
Hey, Josiah. Why'd you pick this song? So we wanted to do a ripper from California, and you wanted to do Rabbit
Here's
Hole.
the thing. Yeah, and oh my god. Okay, first tangent. I just said here's the thing. I didn't even mean to.
Jesus.
Have you noticed? And I don't know if this is a recent tick or not, but I feel like the millennial way of trying to sound smart is by starting your sentence with "here's the thing."
Yeah, that's true. I don't think I've thought about that, but that's a good observation.
I've noticed it a lot lately where people say, "Here's the thing," and it's like, you didn't need to say that part. You know, we've been talking about editing quotes. Just edit that out of your speech, and I'm guilty of it because I love to sound smart, even though I'm a dumb piece of shit.
Okay, so let's
here's
start
the
that
thing,
point
Sam.
again. Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I love Mark, and I do feel like because of just through circumstances, we've been a little bit unkind to Mark. It's maybe an awkward time in history. It hasn't been Mark season. We've been talking about his tweets, and, I'm doing my backhanded compliment thing again where I want to list off all the things I don't like about him while I'm complimenting. But I do really love Mark, and I thought I wanted to stay in California zone because we got to fucking crank some of these pieces of shit out. And also, I truly, not just being contrarian, not just being a shithead, I truly think that the song Rabbit Hole is great, and I've loved it from the moment I heard it, and I have been shocked by everyone's reaction to it.
So I want to make a suggestion, which is, being that I'm pretty sure that Mark is listening to this episode right now, that this is his first episode of Blink-155 since he initially showed some enthusiasm with the podcast's debut, that we should just address him as you. So I think rather than saying, like, everyone knows I love Mark, it should just be like, we love you. This is one of your best songs. and just sort of see how that feels for a little while.
I feel like even just imagining doing that feels horrible.
So this is a song that...
So Mark, sir, please listen to me, sir.
Yeah. It's...
May I kiss your feet?
But you want to kiss the feet of this song. Like, you want to kiss
I thought that it's time for. I mean, we've been pro Mark before, but I think there's later era Mark that deserves more credit than it gets, and we have not been giving it.
It's true. A lot of our pro you content has been related to like Dude Ranch era.
Actually, I like that. I like it because I'll pretend you're talking about me. You're complimenting me.
No, I'm extremely anti you, Josiah, not you, Mark. But it's true. I think it's easy to look at, you know, some of the songs we've talked about, you know, from Self-Entitled. I mean, you know, Neighborhood's obviously sort of just generally a mess, but we got deep into Tom Season and only kind of talked about genius Mark songs when we were doing like surefire hits like Online Songs. And
right.
And this does fit the mold of one of your classic songs.
I mean, well, I don't know. And I feel that because you think Mark's listening, you're not going to be truly honest. But do you like this song?
I think this song is a beautiful slice of perfection. No, look, you know what? Actually, this is a time for realness. I think that the verse and pre-chorus to this song fucking rip. Like when this song starts, I'm just like, Blink is back. They're here. Mm-hmm. We're friends. Mm-hmm. Everything's so sick. Nothing has changed. And I don't like the chorus. And this song got a lot of play for me because of where it sits on the album. And I'm now going to like do the thing where I talk and Google and you can hear a little bit of clicking and I'm sort of filling time to make sure that I don't fuck up a fact that I feel like I should know. And I didn't even realize how long the Wikipedia was for California. So
sometimes we help each other by doing throwing a lifesaver, but at that time I chose not to.
Yeah,
when I hear the typing, I sometimes talk, but I thought he's made his bed.
Just let him suffer here. I like some of the songs that sit around Rabbit Hole, and Rabbit Hole, as a result, got a lot of sort of play. Oh, sorry, I'm full of Blue Menu sparkling lemon water right now.
Ooh.
It got a lot of sort of incidental play, but not a lot of sort of direct, purposeful play from me. And every time the chorus hit, I was always like, like it starts to feel really Feldy in the chorus to me. And I listened to it a bunch of times before we recorded, and because I really wanted to not say that because I know you're listening. But I just like I have to speak my truth, which is that
I know that you would understand.
Yeah, because I think we have that kind of relationship.
Daddy.
but you just like straight up love this song.
Yeah, I have the opposite because, like, I did listen to the album tons. I even had it on CD in the old station wagon there, fucking playing that disc quite a bit.
Do you have a station wagon?
Yeah, I do.
That's sick.
It's not like a cool one. It's a pretty ugly Normcore Ford Focus from 2002 or something. But cool. I think it's cool. I think it'll have its day.
I mean, it's like low-key a good like band vehicle too.
Yeah, exactly. So we had the CD in there, but prior to that, like this was the second song that was released from the album, following Bored to Death. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I heard it, and I remember like I liked Bored to Death too, and obviously we'll talk about that one day.
Oh, I can't wait.
But I also thought this song came out and I was like, okay, this song's fucking awesome. And then I like look at Stereo Gum and they're being all snarky about it, and like everyone like, and trust me, as someone who writes for a music blog, I love when someone releases a cheesy song. Like when Good Charlotte released that 40-ounce Dream or whatever, I probably spent 2 hours perfecting all my digs in my post about that because I love to pick apart a shitty new punk song when it hits. But
sorry, are you not like afraid when you do that whatever Madden follows you is going to be offended?
Well, he actually followed me like the day after I wrote that, so I think I don't know. I have a feeling he might be down with the jokes.
Sick. Okay, that's cool.
But that's the thing, Sam. You're allowed to like poke fun at people, and sometimes it makes you seem more human to them instead of just like
like sycophantic.
Yeah, exactly. But no, like I want it. I would have been totally down to shit on it, but I heard the song and it's like the breathing in at the start is so immediate. I love the bass chords, and also the bass chords in Bored to Death, like the little pre-chorus bass thing he does, always stood out to me. So I thought like, ooh, this is gonna be like a bass chord album. That's pretty cool. And then I just thought the song was sweet, and I mean, we'll talk about each part if we want, but I like the chorus and I like the casual swearing, because swearing in songs occasionally sounds so forced. And there's so many examples of it, especially as someone who grew up listening to Christian music, and all these Christian bands have stopped being Christian. Like when Pedro the Lion started swearing, it was so like he would just like enunciate it so well, like fuck, you know. And also, there's a new Under Oath song last week, and they say the F word now, and it's like it feels like such a big deal. And it's so swearing is actually a very dangerous thing in songs, because if you sound like you're trying to do it too hard, it's like very uncomfortable.
It can be super embarrassing. Yeah.
I like how in this song it's almost like he just needed more syllables and he just said fucking, and it's like so chill. Like I don't know. I like it.
Well, yeah, the thing about swearing in general is that it is sick, but mostly, like, personally, I swear as a filler word because I'm too dumb to think of what I actually want to say next. And I'm fine with that. But with a song, like, you kind of have a little more time. Like, you're not just like improving. You're not Wayne Brady. It's not Whose Line. And so you're definitely only doing. I mean,
I would think of Colin Mockery if someone said Whose Line, not Wayne Brady. But
I'm a real Ryan
Stiles.
Ryan Stilesman. No, Greg
Proops. You know, every single like aged garage rock guy that I've met looks like Greg Proops.
Yeah, he looks like all the members of the Transmitters.
Totally.
So like generally, the thing about swearing in a song is that you have deliberately decided, I'm going to swear, and the only reason you're going to do it is to be cool, because swearing is cool. And I actually agree with you. This is one of the things that I like about this chorus, which I'm otherwise like not a huge fan of. But there's another thing that we can get into is the swearing totally works. Like totally works. It doesn't feel like try hard.
It sounds lived in.
Yeah, it's a lived in fucking.
And also the thing is, it's sort of the exact opposite of my understanding of Mark now, as someone who's like a little bit cautious and careful and wanting to make sure he doesn't rock the boat too much. And this is just like a guy who's like, I don't want to go down that fucking rabbit hole. And you're like, that's so... He just feels very real. And this is an example of where I can understand the mentality of like, let's just write all the lyrics quickly. Because I actually think... And everyone thinks these lyrics are so cheesy and embarrassing, but I think these lyrics are good.
I think all the lyrics. I think all the lyrics of the song are actually really good. Again, the pre-chorus, and I don't know that we need to go part in the song because we did that last week. But the pre-chorus to this is like a really good, super evocative piece of lyrical imagery, and that's like not often your strong suit. And so, to me. That again.
Have you been practicing this?
No, it's just working for me right now. But again, and I will say this, to me that also lends to kind of the disappointment of the chorus actually cutting in, because the verse is like, yeah, bass chords and it fucking rips, and then when the pre-chorus comes in, like with the quite literally angular guitars, right? Because that is how we're supposed to use that term, right?
I don't even know what that means.
I know, but it's angular. Like
no one knows.
Ding ding. And then it's you know,
it's like, okay. First of all, the weird thing is, let's talk about how the lyrics. I can understand why people don't like these lyrics. I get it, because like "Dear Head, Shut Up" is very like angsty and corny, and then saying "You are a haunted house, you're superstitious" is sort of this weird like double speak that exists on the album, where it's like. Life is too short to last long, where it's like a sentence that seems like it's gone through Google Translate, like it's almost correct, but it's not. Like,
yeah,
a haunted house wouldn't be superstitious. The person who thinks the house is haunted is superstitious. Like, do you know what I mean? A haunted house itself is not superstitious.
I mean, what if the house was superstitious, though? Like, I'm just saying. It could happen.
And then what really, when reading them, what really stands out to me is "You are the coldest stone-carved marble faces." Now, I like when Mark does this, where he fits tons of words in there that you have to actually look up the lyrics, because you're like, I want to sing along. He's clearly, it's almost like a tongue twister. But it also makes me wonder if he wanted some Cold Stone marble slab creamery ice cream.
Right.
While he was
just really hungry when he was writing this.
He just wanted to like squish up some birthday cake into...
You know what, though? You made an interesting point earlier about how kind of current Mark sort of feels like sometimes he plays it safe, like versus the like psychosis of Tom. What are you giggling at right now?
You didn't call him you.
I know, because I was actually trying to make a serious point. I realized, and
you're hoping that he'll only listen to the times when he's called you. So then when we're critical, we'll call him Mark.
No, this is actually about to be a compliment. So.
Good. Okay, sorry.
But it's interesting to me watching what's been happening on his Twitter, which I love, but it's like super like it's dad jokes. It's quite delightful. But the way that he has responded in the wake of the shootings in Florida is kind of surprising, because Blink is this like big American band for everyone. And we've talked before about the sort of like lack of politics in their music. And I don't remember what episode it was, but you played the clip of him being interviewed on like Musique Plus, where they tried to get him to talk about how Enema of the State is political. And he was like,
right,
just like clearly goofing around and like, it's not. And that's totally fine. Like, you don't always have to be political. But
yeah, everything you're saying right now connects with last week, including your Taylor Swift take, which I still don't know if we should get into, but you're kind of saying all the same things, right? Like, I don't know. Sorry.
No, I was trying to give you room there. So I should have cut you off clearly. But I mean, he. It's very interesting to watch someone like that has, I think, cultivated just a degree of neutrality. Perhaps this is a function of just like their own kind of like personal interests and personal politics, and just like not really wanting to wade into the morass of like, of American politics. And to see him kind of stake out a really clear position that is no doubt alienating to a certain meaningful segment of Blink-182 fans has been really interesting to watch, because his Twitter presence is just so like positive, friendly dad vibes. And
right. I'm gonna respond quietly so that he can't hear us.
Yes.
I think the reason that he's doing that is because he's a brand exactly the same as like Denny's or something.
So it's a Taylor Swift point.
It's a mixture of dad jokes and being against right-wing Republicans, which is like the most normie stance to take right now in America, and you kind of have to do it. And them being anti-Trump is pretty much the most normie thing they could possibly do. Anyways, where were we with the pod?
Whether or not that's the case, I don't know. I mean, look, yeah, the Taylor Swift thing, right? Like, people don't always take stances on shit. And yes, being against the NRA at a time when they're finally losing their sort of vice-like grip on American politics.
Also, just being like, I'm not going to use Hertz Rent-A-Car anymore unless they disavow the NRA. It's like, I feel like there's got to be... To me, that's the same as the thoughts and prayers that people get mad about. To be like, I'm not going to use H&R Block.
No, he did say that he wasn't going to use... or he said we. So in my mind, he was referring to sort of Blink as a merchandising empire.
I thought he meant like us as like we the people, like how you were talking about.
So maybe we read the tweet differently, but I was thinking about, him saying that they weren't going to use FedEx anymore. And to me, I read that as like Blink ships a lot of merch, and, he is often speaking on behalf of Blink as a business.
Right.
So then,
okay, that's fair.
Taking that business away from FedEx is, probably minor for FedEx's bottom line, obviously, but I think, Blink as a band possess a degree of economic power. They're still a very popular band. And so, if it takes you a while to get there, or if there's some like branding element to it, I don't know if there's anything wrong with that. And I think it's interesting to be watching that happen in real time.
No, I think you're right. And I think it's definitely like, it's not a bad thing, but I also still, I guess, think that all that stuff is a little bit, if not calculated, cultivated. Whereas this song seems like an honest expression of a man, which is what I was basically going to get at. It was like, people say that this song seems like he's trying to be an edgy teen or something, but the song is really about anxiety and not being able to sleep from depression or anxiety. And that's something that probably is real to him. And that's why I'm okay with him saying things like, "Dear head, shut up." Because I can actually picture Mark Hoppus, the successful rich rock star, still not being able to sleep at night because some nagging thing is frustrating him from his life.
Yeah, and it's a consistent throughout the band's discography, right? Like, I don't think he's shied away from the fact that he's been just like a bummed out, anxious dude, and never really tried to make it seem like it was somehow more catastrophic than it was. He hasn't tried to make himself into a tragic figure, but this isn't like the first time that these themes have emerged in the history of the band. And so I totally agree with you. It seems like this just like, fuck, kind of like outpouring of some ideas.
Yeah, totally. And that, I guess also maybe some of the haunted house imagery and like the gothy stuff is where it feels a little bit calculated, but it's so minor to the song that ultimately I think the lyrics are actually good because even the corniness of them feels genuine. Yeah,
totally. I mean, it's not like he's writing about a long lost love from high school. This is like just like an adult man who, probably has a lot more money than you and I, despite the success of our Patreon. And that those demons never go away,
Right. Yeah. So I really like that. And I guess while I'm talking about the things that I like, which I will continue to do because I like this song, I think the with you part, the bridge, I love it. And I've talked about this before, but I fucking love when there's just a little bit of acoustic guitar underneath a quiet rock part. It just fills it out so nicely. It kind of sounds like the Smiths for a second. And you're just like, God damn, they're so good.
Dude, I don't know that you've talked about this on the pod. Now, maybe I'm blocking it out because
I think I did once, and I think you made fun of me. It was still earlier on. There was a lot more animosity at the start, I think, as we were sort of figuring each other out. We were both like two wild animals, two alphas trying to find their place. Right. Well, and I think you have done the most alpha move of making me do all the work of the entire podcast.
Yeah, that's win. True. I alphaed out so hard. Like, I don't even think about doing work before we record. Like, there's no thought in my mind, like, I should prepare.
God damn it, Bruce.
So, now I'm going to go back on whatever I said those many years ago about acoustic guitar in a rock song, because it sounds sick.
I think I had just built it up too much, and then you sort of made fun of the reveal of what I was talking about.
Okay, yeah.
Which is
this time
a
you
general
snuck it in better.
But I think it's like, we rag on acoustic covers all the time. I just realized, is the term rag on like a sexist term, like talking about periods or something?
Oh, I don't know. One of us can look that up while the other one's talking. I don't think so, but yeah, who knows? Okay, so you're going to look that up. The chorus the bridge is so good, and it's that like simple repetition. It doesn't feel lazy. It just feels like sort of a really effective way of hammering home this sort of great melody, this sort of a little bit of space in a song that otherwise is sort of really dense with lyrics, and the way it sort of then elevates back into the outro is so sick. Did you figure out about Rag On?
I can't find it. Whatever. It's not. I just casually said it. I didn't make a big deal out of it, so no one will know whether it was bad. No one will notice that was in here.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it now for at least 45 seconds.
Whatever you just said, I agree. And yeah, I just think acoustic guitars fill out a song in a way that electric guitars don't always do. But even the electric guitars in this song don't sound that fake and corny like some of the others. And this is where I might lose you, but I even like the outro with the big gang vocals, and I think they say whole instead of whoa, but maybe they say whoa. But either way, I'm into it. I like it. Like everything about it when I first heard it, I was like, if this is what the new Blink album sounds like, I'm totally fine with it.
So there's a few things that I love about the outro. So one is that we get some like upper register skeebs, just that like when he does the barely standing on the ground and he goes up like, and his voice kind of breaks, and it's so fucking good because his register when he gets up there is just, it's so beautiful. It's a chef's kiss. It's so fucking good. So already they could do anything they want before or after that, and I would give it top marks. But no, the sort of whoa-ohs or ho-ohs at the end of this song are some of the only kind of earned whole whoa-ohs on the album.
I agree. And everything goes halftime, and then those bass chords come back. This is a clever song, and it's also nice and short. Even with all that shit in there, it's only 2.5 minutes long. Everything about it is a great framework to build off of, and it was one of the first songs they wrote and recorded for the album California. So, and I think what happened was they started getting some outside help from other songwriters and started looking for a hit and whatnot. There are some theories about what happened on this album that we can get into in a second. But I wanted to let me think. Was there anything? Oh, well, first of all, I guess I didn't mind Matt Skiba when I first heard this, but then somebody pointed out on Reddit that whenever they hear him in this song, they can't help but think of this Alkaline Trio cover. So I'm just going to play it for you.
Okay.
Moving right along in search of good times and good news with good friends you can't lose. This could become a habit. Opportunity knocks once, let's reach out and grab it. Together we'll nab it. We'll hitchhike, bus, or yellow cabot. Cabot? Moving right along. Footloose and fancy free. Getting there.
I mean, what are you trying? This sounds nothing like that.
I don't know why they said that, but I could not believe that Alkaline Trio covered Moving Right Along from the Muppet movie.
But like,
And I hate it.
Oh,
I hate it.
See,
that song is supposed to be a hokey, banjo, goofy, fucking puppet song. And even hearing that, I'm like, does Alkaline Trio also sound too clean and have no edge to it all the time?
no.
Should I listen to Alkaline Trio? Like, is that a helpful thing to do?
I mean, there's a whole podcast about it if you really want to get into them. But no, Alkaline Trio is not like an edgy band. They
Right,
sound a lot like that. They sound like Moving Right Along. That's it.
But everything just sounds so like middle of the road. Like it's not loud. Nothing's loud enough.
Well, I mean, maybe you played it too quiet.
No, the vocals are so much louder than everything. But I do think, like, did you like Skiba's vocals in general when you first heard it as a resident Skibaman?
Are you talking about the Muppet cover or Rabbit Hole?
No, the Rabbit Hole.
Yeah, dude. I mean, look, like there are almost no situations in which I am not infatuated with the sound of Matt Skiba's voice, of Matthew Thomas Skiba's just
Matthew
dulcet
Thomas
tones.
DeLong Skiba.
Thomas DeLong Skiba. So like the way he comes in the verse, like I mean, I felt this way on Bored to Death too. Like his, and this again, I don't mean to listen. Mark, please shield yourself for a moment. It's part of the disappointment of other parts of this album is because I do think these two songs show such promise as regards Matt Skiba's ability to sort of enter the band and sort of find his own space separate from the space that Tom occupied and sort of bring his own dynamic flavor to the stew that is Blink-182. And it's just not present in most of their songs. But on this song, oh my God, fucking perfect. So what are the conspiracy theories, Josiah?
Oh, sorry. One more thing. You might have to adopt your whisper voice again, but I'm curious why you don't like the chorus.
I just it just doesn't do it for me. I don't know that I have a more sort of specific and enlightened complaint. The melody does not grab me the way the melody of the verse feels so immediate, and then the pre-chorus feels like such a like exciting sort of gear shift, and it kind of like just punches through like over the kind of like slashy guitar playing. And then this like feels a little like like you know,
Right.
It just
feels
doesn't
kind of like No Future last week
to
you.
That's the thing is like to me this chorus is like an elevated version of the way that No Future was written to just be bang 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 bang.
Right. That's funny. It doesn't happen to me, and also especially because the third line, which I think is such a Mark Hoppus rhyme that you almost can't read it without sounding like Mark Hoppus. All the hints that you leave are too hard to believe at all. It's like so. That is such a Hoppus line, and I love it. I really like that line, but that's interesting.
You know what's like? I am legitimately excited though now, having had this conversation, to A, get to the covers and B, listen to the song again, because I was truly trying to change my opinion on it in the minutes leading up to recording this podcast. And I couldn't quite do it, but engaging with you in this sort of spirited debate has at least opened my mind up to, I think, what you like about it, and then that may allow me to hear it with fresh ears.
Right, and I'm just going to decide not to like it anymore then, if you're going to do that.
Yeah, that's fair. Again, that's that old kind of animosity creeping to the surface, that electricity that we had in those early episodes.
I think if we did get a relationship counselor on here, they would probably tell us, like, we should end each episode with like complimenting each other, or like, you know, we need to deal with this animosity in a healthy way.
Maybe that should be, so instead of sort of final thoughts on the song, we should end on final thoughts on each other this week.
Right. Yeah. We'll see. Okay, like for reasons that I won't go into here, I've been obsessed with, checking sources, double checking sources, quadruple checking sources lately.
Garnier Fructis. It was all your research.
Oh, right.
around
Exactly.
Garnier.
Yeah, Garnier Fructis. But unfortunately, with Reddit, it's really hard to do that. So I don't know who the fuck this person is. Their name is WW Link1. And so who the fuck knows who that is or if they know anything. But there's a pretty interesting thread about how Mark and Matt Skiba, not Thomas Matt.
Not
DeLong.
Thomas Matt, but Matt Thomas, yeah.
Yeah, they were trading vocals, like we've talked about. They trade vocals on every song, and it becomes formulaic after a while. And this person's theory, WW Link 1, it's pretty dense and long, so I'm going to paste it to you here. They were kind of saying that it's like business related, and they think that it has to do with who's the stockholder in the band, and something to do with Matt needs to sing on every song, otherwise it's not. Otherwise, it does something with the contract that allows, I don't know, something to do with how Tom still owns a third of the band. And so if something like if Mark and Travis just do a Blink-182 song, then Tom gets royalties for it. But if Matt is on it, then it's a new version of the band or something.
I don't know. Does this person have any
theoretical.
legal background?
No, there was another thread about it with someone who was a law student, and then everyone just started insulting them for their writing skills for being a law student. So I don't know. I mean, obviously it's not, we can't go on what this person is saying, but it is kind of interesting to think that perhaps contractually they need to have Matt on every song. Or also someone had argued, I can't remember if it's in this dense ass thread, but they need these songs to get bigger because then it could be used as like collateral for when Tom wants to come back. Then they can be like, well, we have all these hits without you. And then there's like, it can be like some sort of negotiating tactic. That's someone's theory anyways. Which might explain the na-na-nas, like trying to make every song a big hit so that they can fight.
I don't know. That seems like just like trying to overly complicate the fact that you don't love like John Feldman's songwriting.
Yeah. Does any of this make sense to you, or do you think it's just complete bullshit?
Well, I mean, we've talked before about like how Blink, like every sort of huge band, is a business, right? And it's such a complicated and unique business because it has employees. It has like really, really huge revenue. And normally if you work for a company with the sorts of, revenue that Blink has, or any big, artist or bands in particular.
Junior Battles,
for example. Yeah. Like, you would have like a CEO and multiple, executive vice presidents, and the sort of like risk and the complications of that business are spread over so many different people. And then you have a board that makes decisions about whether or not the CEO gets to continue to lead the company. And there's all these sort of, functions in place to allow a huge corporation to just sort of carry on with its business,
keep calm.
Yeah, exactly. And bands don't have that. And I truly do not grasp the legal complications inherent in being Blink-182. I mean, there's, all the
other people. Yeah. And then other people have said that like Tom is the majority holder in the name, but then apparently their LLC, which was founded in 2002, is called Viking Wizard Eyes, which is a very 2002 sort of thing to say. But
wow.
It's apparently other people say it's like split three ways completely between Mark, Tom, and Travis.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's really confusing, but I do kind of think that maybe something that we're talking about is maybe the reason that they do this generic trading of vocals. Because it's also weird how every Blink-182 album leading up to this, it was notable when both Mark and Tom were on a song, instead of it being the trend for every single song.
And have they ever addressed it? Like, I mean, in all these Feldy interviews that you dive deep into as the beta of this pod, like, have you ever found something where he says, like, we decided that the best Blink songs were when they both sang, and so we figured, why not build the whole plane out of the black box?
Well, somebody did say, compare this to, like, oh my God, what's going on? I think my mute button is sticky on my computer.
Ew.
Too much looking at rabbit holes. Someone did say that it reminds reminds them of the band Mest, which Feldy produced, and I guess there's similar signifiers in that band. I think I've heard one of their songs before, but I can't think of it.
Yeah, I always sort of avoided them.
One of their albums, I think, which was produced by Feldy, did have similar, like, I don't know. Someone else argued that maybe because, and I think I've even said this before, but because Matt Skiba and John Feldman don't have the entire context of the band, their understanding of what makes a Blink-182 song is very simplified, and like they think that it should just have na-na-nas and stuff. So it could be that, but since you've mentioned Feldy, believe me, I have the Feldy quote ready to go.
Oh, good. Okay. Wait. Oh, I feel like I had like a really important point queued up before we moved into Feldy territory. Oh, just in terms of like ownership and stuff, because this is like an interesting point. And to be honest, I feel like this is not. I'm going to have to be vague about this, but like we're getting into this a little bit now with a project at work where there is a famous band that is known by a name and then also a set of initials, and different people own the name than own the set of initials. And so anything you do...
Dude, you're working with 5 Iron Frenzy? That's so sick.
Yeah. And like that's this legal hurdle that you constantly have to go through when you are touring as that band, when you are promoting that band. Like it's this whole level of legal complication that again couldn't exist in any other industry. So as much as this theory is insane, it is also entirely plausible given that I don't know that any one band is like any other from a sort of like legal standpoint. So
and when there's a band
knows?
with this many hits and whatnot. I mean,
yeah.
it's not unprecedented because other like classic rock bands have done this a lot where they start to hate each other and replace members, and you know, it happens a lot, but it's just crazy that it's happening with a pop punk band.
Yeah. It's crazy knowing that it's happening to people who are currently camped out outside of Milo from the Descendants' house. Like that's unique.
All right, Feldy, buddy. Let's hear what you have to say. John, Feldman, speaking to Fuse.tv, Maria Sherman got the juice.
We got to get
Feldy.
Maria Sherman on the show because, like, she's done most of your research, like, to be honest.
It's true. I would. We should just talk to her exclusively about this Feldy interview, maybe.
We should do a exclusive about this Feldy interview. Absolutely. We should find her. Let's do it.
We should keep doing exclusives that make people want to subscribe to the Patreon instead.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So this is another very similar to last week again, where the quote starts off where you're like, okay, this person's not a completely bonkers, insane person. So Feldy, here's the first bit from our friend Feldy. That was an earlier one as well. It came together quickly. Mark and I were talking about depression and negative thinking, how one thought can spiral into thousands of thoughts of what's the point of anything and fuck it all. As an adult, to go backwards and ask, what was that first thought that caused me to go down this spiral of nothingness? The idea of the song is I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole of negative thinking. That's where the song started. Where it ended feels mostly playful. The logo, and we're talking about the OG Skankin' Rabbit legacy. So that's something we haven't really talked about yet. But all in all, that paragraph from Feldy, you're like, okay, that's a, you know.
Yeah, that's a reasonable man sort of talking reasonably, yeah.
So I'm going to let you read the next part along with me just in case I flub anything because it's really just... Travis Barker played Rabbit Hole in one take. I never knew what Travis is really thinking or what he's going to play. I just give him a click or a guitar or a vocal, and he just goes in there and does what he does. Again, still reasonable. Think of that Zedd and Ariana Grande song, Break Free. Ultimately, whoever wrote that song is the songwriter, but Zedd really brought that production and made the song. It's weird and cool and electro, yet musical. Just great production. To me, Travis is like the Zedd of the band.
Whoa,
Travis is like
okay.
You're just like, what? What are you talking about?
Okay, yeah, Travis is like the producer of the band. When he adds his drum parts, it makes the song just completely different from what anyone expects. Okay, the Zedd thing is a weird way of explaining that, but the idea that sometimes Travis is tracking only to vocals is actually super interesting.
It's true. I mean, I also like that the producer is saying that the drummer is the producer.
Right.
Like,
he's like, I don't do anything, man. I just smile and am vegan.
But like, imagine... I don't think I've ever heard anyone mention Zedd. It's just like one of those people who's always in the Billboard Hot 100 who you just ignore the name of completely. You're
it's
like,
true.
oh,
I've never had a
fucking
conversation
Ariana
about
Grande
Zedd.
song.
Yeah, I mean, it to me that's like it's a really interesting point wrapped in like a lot of nonsense.
Right. like trying to be like, I know what I'm talking about. Zed, Zed.
Think of that Zed and Ariana Grande song. I can't think of that song. I don't know that song. I only know the Zed and Alessia Cara song.
It reminds me of a friend was once had a job interview here to be like a booker at a local club to book music there, and the guy who was in charge of it at the time was like an old timer of the local rock scene, like pretty, like I would say probably mid to late 40s or something at the time.
Sick.
And in the interview, to my friend, he was like, like we're not going to have the budget for you to get like Odd Future or something. This rock club, just like name dropping like something you saw on the cover of a magazine.
We're not gonna have
like
Tumblr rap group Odd Future Wolfgang kill them all.
He's like squinting to read what's written on the top corner of Spin or something.
Remember when it was like really hard to figure out like what the fuck Odd Future were doing? And now,
was it? There was just like one Pitchfork thing that everyone read. It was pretty easy.
The Tumblr thing was always confusing to me.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'm glad you got it.
You're like the Zed of the podcast.
I really am. You come in like with all this prep, and then I'm just like scatting over top of it.
So I don't know. There's not too much to talk about in terms of. I guess that was something that I liked about it too, is that it was not beating it over the head, but it was wordplay with the band's legacy to call it Rabbit Hole. Like, it's like he's clearly just talking about anxiety, but it's kind of an interesting like Easter egg that it's also Easter rabbit egg that he's talking about, something to do with the band's legacy.
Is it almost Easter? Is that why you're saying that?
No, because I'm talking about rabbits.
Yeah, okay. I get that part. Yeah, I mean, like, to be honest, the whole rabbit blink thing hadn't occurred to me until this all happened. And so
it might have even been an accident, but it's like so subtle that it's tasteful, which is not really something I can say about most modern pop punk adjacent things.
You know what I still think might be this podcast's greatest achievement? Now, I'm very proud of like the Garnier Fructis episode and maybe not much else, but like that's pretty impressive real music journalism.
What about when I talked to my little brother about cum?
Oh yeah, sorry. The Glass Glove fucking cum episode was that's an achievement. So once again, all of the work that you've done, I think is quite impressive. But early on, like I think in the Apple Shampoo episode, once again, when you, the person who does the work, realized that the blink rabbit like kind of looks like a swastika.
Right.
And I just feel like that maybe if we had done that episode later on, like that discovery would have had more impact, and maybe
we could have affected real change. And maybe if someone is a troll out there, don't do this, but you could reply to one of Mark Hoppus's NRA tweets with a swastika drawn over the rabbit and ask him to explain it. But don't do that.
Don't do
but
that.
You could.
Yeah.
You could. Is all I'm
Please
saying.
focus your energy on asking Mark Hoppus if Dude Ranch has come.
Right.
Let that be the existential question that hangs over this podcast.
But there are a couple other like adjacent things about this rabbit that I wanted to mention very quickly.
Great.
When Tom was doing his whatever it was called mod robe, what was it called? Mod robe?
Oh yeah, mod Rob Cons. Mod life. When
he was doing that shit, I don't know. I didn't read about it too much, but apparently he started a thing called the Rabbit Hole Club, and that was how they self-released Dogs Eating Dogs. But then the other band members had not signed off on the Rabbit Hole Club, and he had collected all these credit cards to send people like merch items, blind items in the mail, but it wasn't approved by everyone. So there was a whole, I don't know. There's like always like some fucked up business dealings going on with these wonderful fellas.
Yeah, I mean, just the idea of collecting a bunch of credit cards without anyone's permission, which is not what we've done in pre-selling the Blink-155 official podcast shirt.
It's almost a precursor to tricking people into financing your NASA Light space program.
Yeah, it's really SpaceX Light, I kind of think.
But then the other thing about the rabbit hole is prior to this song, I think, or maybe after, I'm not sure, but there's like one of these, because you remember how like, this is what makes me think of this. My little brother, not the one I talked to on the pod, my middle little, Johnny, him and wife of the pod, Sarah, both were very obsessed with the musician Beck back in the day.
Okay.
Like when we were teens, my brother was really interested in Beck, and when Sarah was a teen, she was too. And both of them ended up buying like bootleg CDR box sets off of eBay where you could get all of the B-sides, or like, you know, people would buy like live DVD boot. Like you had to actually, you couldn't just go on YouTube and watch like B-roll of Mark and Tom at the Wedge back behind the scenes or whatever. Like you had to actually like hunt these things down. So even when I'm researching the pod, there's so much like weird fan GeoCity sites, you know?
Yeah, it's funny. I never really thought about that as a change, but like, you know, wife of the pod, Ashley, was like super into like Nirvana, and her, like, there's still a box in our house of bootlegs, right? And it's all like old live videos and like B-sides, and then early like Foo Fighters, like early like Dave Grohl kind of solo stuff that became the Foo Fighters. And now that's all on YouTube for everyone. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, like, that was all, you know, serious tape trading, serious deep nerd shit.
I think it's almost better probably that it's not like that now. But very recently, and this person has since been banned from YouTube, but there was somebody called The Rabbit Hole who had footage of this legendary Blink show in Camden, New Jersey, where Travis played with a broken leg. Like, he only had to play with one.
Oh my God, with one foot?
leg?
Yeah.
Yeah, with 1 foot. And it's very legendary, and everyone talks about it all the time, and all the songs are really fast and aggressive, and it seems really cool. But this dude was selling a DVD-R of it for, like, he was asking people for, like, $500, like, 6 months ago.
Jesus Christ, dude.
And then somebody apparently bought it for, like, $150 or something, and then it's since on YouTube. I don't know if they uploaded it or what, but, I mean, it's crazy. So someone named The Rabbit Hole as like a villain of the Blink-182 subreddit, and people are always saying very horrible things about The Rabbit Hole.
Do you think they hate him more, or do they hate you more?
Are you talking to me or Mark?
Just leave that one. That was good.
Yeah, no. So it's just kind of interesting to also have their song probably unknowingly associated with this, like, this evil DVD-R hoarder.
Yeah, that's tough, man. You know, speaking of DVD hoarding and sort of spending a lot of money for things, have you had any luck securing the package? You know, there's like a musical package.
No, I need to
an illicit film.
I need to look into that a little bit more.
You got it, man.
Dark web, and
yeah.
That as soon as we get that episode will
that will be the greatest achievement of this podcast.
That's the holy grail for now. At least,
we just got to tease the people.
Until the big reunion. Yeah. There's a holy grail we're working on, and it's film related. And when I say working on, I mean we've talked about it once. But
and you maybe sent like a fucking LinkedIn message or something.
Yeah, exactly. One more thing about the lyrics, too, that I forgot to mention is that when we were talking about the curse word and how it doesn't feel forced, the strange thing about that is that it's the only fuck on the whole album.
Is it really?
Yeah, and people, I don't know, people were saying that the album seems too clean and there's not enough swear words on it, and I was trying to think, like, I can't really remember. I know even the joke songs are, like, very PG rated. But
yeah, because, like, you know, there's, yeah, it's just about, like, nudity and fingering.
Yeah, I guess fingering is a little bit maybe PG-13 or something, 14A.
Yeah, fingering is definitely 14A for sure.
But I just wanted to show you this thread because it's, again, God bless these Redditors and their fucking snark with each other. But yeah, this person said, did anyone realize that California is the least explicit album ever released by Blink? The only song with any cursing in it is Rabbit Hole, I believe, and it's one word in the choruses. Just a little factoid about the album. And then Jared Time 182 responded, actually, fuck is used 7 times in California. Fuck is used 6 times in Neighborhoods. Fuck is used 5 times in Untitled and Dude Ranch. Enema of the State uses 6 fucks, 7 if you count the motherfuckers whispered at the very beginning of the party song. So in that vein, only take off your pants and jacket is more explicit.
Wow. Jared Time 182 is a fucking nerd, and I love it.
Yeah. He's calling fake news on your fuck
fake news
there,
fucks.
buddy.
Holy shit. I mean,
so I guess when you think about it,
that's the verse of like the first song on Chocolate Starfish and the hot dog flavored water, I think. For anyone listening to this who's a real Durst head, you'll know what I mean.
Yo, Marsden. Shout out Marsden.
Yeah, I think that's the song. So Marsden, you can let me know if I'm referring to the right song, but I think you know what I'm talking about.
But if you think about it, they really do actually keep it separated, to quote the great Dexter Holland, who also made this lyric video in his garage or whatever.
His kid made it for sure.
There's songs that are dense with curses and filthy language, but then there's songs that have none. And I think it's another calculated move where they try to like make sure that they can market different avenues.
Yeah. Well, it also means the clean version won't sound totally wrong because it'll only really affect like one or two songs. And I believe that could very likely be a very deliberate strategy.
Right.
Huh.
I don't know, just a little bit of fuck talk.
Yes.
If you can handle it.
I can, man. I mean, this episode literally opened with you sending me animal vaginas, so I can handle a little fuck talk.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Oh, and then I guess another thing while we're sort of... again, maybe Mark, don't listen, but this is another thing where it seems a little bit calculated, and maybe just actually it's less of a criticism of Mark and more that I feel bad for him because I think he's been done wrong here. He's kind of like the skinhead Rob from Garnier Fructis of this scenario.
Yeah.
But he was so excited about this song, and I think rightfully so. Another thing I wanted to say about this song is that it's sort of like Go or Heart's All Gone. Like sometimes Mark sneaks these like simple, fast punk songs into the back end of his albums, and they're just like very dense, smart songs that are totally underrated every time. And it's kind of like that. And he was really excited about it. And he said in pre-album interviews, like, this is going to be a new fan favorite. We're going to play this at every show for the rest of time, and everyone's going to love it. And then everyone shat on it so much that I don't think they've ever played it, or they at least didn't play it for the first year that California was out.
That is sad. That's a sad story. But that ultimately was a compliment. He can listen to that. Like, he knows they didn't play it.
Well, I was going to start it off. My original framing was that it was like them being wusses and backing out of it. But I think it's ultimately just like, imagine being that excited about a song and then everyone shits on it and they're wrong too, I think. Like, I think that people who are shitting on it are missing something.
Yeah, I mean, even I'm not shitting on it. So, like, I understand what you're saying. And especially, again, in the context of this album, I think this is one of the strongest songs.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's just so weird. I guess it does bother me that people have too much power on the internet that they can shut you down before, even maybe if, like, for example, I still listen to new Weezer. I'm willing to admit it. And when I heard the song Back to the Shack, I thought it was horrible. And then when that whole album came out and I listened to it, I loved the song in the context of the album. And maybe that would have happened here if people had just like calmed down a little bit.
Are you saying that like people on the internet are sort of like too quick to sort of judge and gang up, and that really like, you know, we should take an opportunity to kind of hear all sides, and that the social media mob mentality is ultimately damaging, and it's taking down good songs that like you love, and like honestly,
specifically in the context of modern pop punk released by Blink-182 in the year 2016. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, cool. Do you want to do covers,
more
or do
like,
you have
more like anti-social media?
Right. Okay.
Yeah, we can start like sort of like swerving towards covers.
Okay.
I got a few like sort of pre-cover things to show you here. First of all,
yeah, great.
So this is again like modern YouTube era. I don't know. I feel like this makes me feel pretty good. Like if you ever feel bad about what we're doing, just realize that I found a YouTube channel where these two bros like review music while they're in a bath together. It's called Two Dudes in a Bath. And to me, it just seems like it reeks of like complete YouTube desperation.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This doesn't feel good to me. This is this is so fucking YouTube right now.
Oh, and you know what else? I think these people are in this band Halocene that we've actually played one of their god awful covers before.
Oh yeah, because the names seem familiar, but like yeah, so this is.
It's like there's a girl who sings, and then these are the two dudes promoting their band. So this is a 10-minute video. I don't know how much I'm going to play of it, but it's just these two bros. I don't know. I would call them bros.
Yeah, one of them's like the sort of soft, the sweet bro, and then one of them's like the jack tattooed bro.
Yeah, and I just realized that the tattoos are extremely Christian.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, it says like Jesus saves across his chest.
Has a Jesus fish on his on his jacked. I've never seen an elbow be muscular before. But yeah. And then the other guy looks more like the cool one, like he might have a clove cig with you or something. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't like write down a time code or anything, but I know they talk, and I think that even they are split about their decision about how they feel about these new California songs.
Okay, are we going to listen to it, or you just wanted to show this to me?
Just a little.
Okay.
It's grown on me. I've tried to listen to it enough times to like it, but it's really, to me, kind of cookie cutter, and the lyrics really don't grab me at all.
Yeah, the lyrics are kind of weak. Not that Blink-182 is really well known for great lyrics, but it is, the chorus I don't really mind. Like, they do that whole haunted kind of like horror, Nightmare Before Christmas kind of Tim Burton-y lyrics. They did it in I Miss You. You know, they tried to get kind of artsy with it. But it was kind of lacking. It wasn't. The verses are kind of weak. And Skiba's vocals in the second verse, I don't really feel like are presented very well. However, I will say it's exciting to like actually be able to tell the difference between the two. And I'm not here to just bash the band. It's kind of reinvigorating to get that SoCal.
It's kind of like doing this podcast where someone wants to say something negative, but they have to spend like 45 minutes adding qualifiers about why.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, that's basically the podcast. Like, they're doing the podcast, and we're like, oh, they're in a bath. That's so stupid. But we're talking for, like, 2 fucking hours. Like, that's 10 minutes in a bath. And they got
true.
clean, and they got to,
and they're covering 2 songs also.
Oh, yeah.
So
So
let's be honest, this isn't a real bath. There's no way that's a true bath. I bet you they've done some trickery to make it extra bubbly. There's probably not even very much water in there, these fucking guys.
Wow. You should show them. You should start your own one man in a bath. And a real bath. An honest bath.
And then let me see here what else I have written down. I mean, I got a bunch of shit written down if you want.
I mean, by this point, like, I'm always like, I sort of felt like I was like, oh, we're kind of rounding the corner pretty quick earlier, and then we got deep on some shit, and now I'm like, okay, so now I'm into like endurance mode again. So
of course, I mean, what do you expect here?
nothing.
And it's Mark's first time on the seesaw, so he has to feel.
Yeah, that's true. That's important.
All the ups and downs. So this guy is there was a few reaction videos, mostly really dumb and bad. But this guy is such a bro that I had to play it. Like, this guy is a fucking bro. He looks like previous sexual misconduct man of the pod, James Franco. In Spring Breakers. He kind of looks like the Spring Breakers Franco, and he just, I don't know, just listen to him talk at the start. It's so good.
What is going on, you wonderful, wonderful Blink-182 fucktoids? Yo, holy smackles. When I just found out this song was out, I was like, yo, I can't believe I'm about to do a reaction to this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is Blink-182 fucking 2. This is the shit back in the day. This is my good gravy fuckness, man. Oh, let's see what this shit's about.
Dear head, shut up. I can't listen no more.
And then the song starts, and he just starts doing like the bro fast nod that like bros do when they hear things that sound like punk music.
Like, everything about that, it reminds me of, like, you see sort of ostensibly edgy bands sometimes like do this in the way that they write like their updates on Facebook, and they're like, "What's up, fuck nuts? Like, you fucking shit-eating turd lords," and it's like it kind of comes back to sort of like over swearing, like everything that dude just said sucked, and swearing
and he
is
really
tight,
just
but,
looks like the camp counselor who's crossing lines, the one that everyone thinks is cool, but he's crossing line. Maybe it's just that he's sharing weed with like 12-year-old girls. But you're just like, this guy is not on the. He's not on the up and up.
No, he's fully on the down and down. So I hated it. I hate swearing. I've done a lot of it on this podcast, and I'm gonna stop because it sucks. It makes you sound like a dummy.
What's up, fucks? Actually, that also reminds me of when
he said fucktoids.
I thought he said fucktards, but with his like New Jersey accent, which is ableist to say fucktards. So please don't.
Yeah.
But it also reminds me of when the great Jesse Farrar was on this podcast. We were talking about how people can't just swear anymore. They have to like combined swears, and it just sounds so bad. Everyone sounds like a bad copywriter now.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's a sad time. I mean, also though, I think it's really important to note that we had Jesse Farrar on the pod before he was like on Fox News and the public enemy #1 of the American right.
Right.
So,
And just a couple days ago, he tweeted that everyone in the NRA should. Instead of something about they should rent a car from Hertz and put a hose from the exhaust into the window. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's not the last we'll be hearing from the foibles of Jesse Farrar.
yeah. Okay, so this reaction
So
video
before we get
sucked.
to-
Thank you for nothing,
Okay.
Josiah.
Good. Mark, what did you think? Give him a second to answer. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, wow.
Do you want us to tell them that or
That's
no?
unexpected.
Okay.
Wow.
This could be our own private moment with you.
That was
Daddy. Okay, quickly before we get to covers, I have 2 videos that answer the question: what if Tom DeLonge was involved?
Oh, good. My favorite question.
So, would you like to know what it would sound like if Tom DeLonge was involved?
If I say no, am I not going to hear them?
Well, no, I was not done my sentence.
Oh.
Bruce.
Sorry, Edward.
Would you like to hear what if Tom DeLonge was involved musically first, or would you like to hear what if Tom DeLonge was involved vocally?
Okay, given that I kind of know how the vocal one's going to go, I want to hear that one first because I'm more interested in the music one. So let's get the chaff out of the way.
Okay. Yeah, this is one of these fucking Joker-ish guys who does the Tom DeLonge exaggerated voice. But even when this song came out, I played this one and I could not stop laughing. And someone in the comments has pointed out, and please, Mark, stop listening, but this dude who uploads these Gonzalo Folly, he also does the work to make sure that there's a quiet, monotone Mark voice in the background. And it's so subtle, I never noticed it before, but it's so fucking
It's
funny.
actually pretty funny.
Okay, here we go.
You're ready, shut up, I can reason no more. It's late, so shut up, it's one night to watch for. You're a haunted house, just a mistake. You're the kill this young gone wild faceless. I want down in the fucking rabbit hole.
You know what? I actually thought that was legitimately fucking great.
Me too.
Like, I
so
want to hear that. Like, I
stupid.
actually want to hear that song.
It's so exaggerated. I love it.
Oh, nice. Okay, what about if he was involved musically?
I just think comedy should like take maybe someone's tics or perhaps stereotypes and exaggerate them for the sake of humor. You know what I mean?
That's an interesting and controversial take on comedy.
Take stereotypes and just really hammer them home.
You know, I was on a bit of a YouTube hole last night because I was trying to get work done. And so I was watching a lot of Norm Macdonald videos on YouTube. And
I won't go down that YouTube hole.
So there's like a video of him doing an impression of Quentin Tarantino, and I could not tell you like what it's from because it just seems like I guess it must have been SNL, but it's just so strange to watch him really dig into like a serious, earnest kind of skit, and
Right.
and I still loved it though because I just I love our
like,
problematic Norm.
I was joking about the stereotype thing, but while we're talking about impressions, I kind of think really good impressions aren't funny, but it's when it's like a caricature where it's like completely exaggerated and so dumb. Because like obviously that doesn't sound like Tom at all, but it still scratches that itch in your brain of like you just think of Tom with his floppy beanie and his like dumbass outfit trying to sing this song.
Yeah, it's full itchy
so
Tom,
good.
full itchy Tom.
All right, so we got this fucking Little Red Guitars guy who always pops up, and he has done what he thinks is what if Tom DeLonge had written the guitar part on this song. So, and I'd like to point out once again that all of the comments are disabled on this video.
Dear head, shut up. I can't listen no more. It's late, so shut up. It's one night too much to ask for. You're superstitious. You are the baby stone cold marble faces. I wanna fall down that fucking rabbit hole. My baby's hanging on the ground. It's such a league to hide.
I didn't like that.
It's me neither because Tom does not just do wanking over top of the entire song the whole time.
Yeah, I feel like it's
he
like a
does hammer-ons
fundamental-
tastefully.
Yeah.
In fact, this video, when I watched it earlier too, it made me realize that I really think Rabbit Hole is perfect because when you're listening to it, you're like, okay, there's not tons of riffs. But then when you try to add a riff to it, maybe he just did a bad job by being too wanky. But I think there's not really any room for the hammer-ons. Like, it's already a very full and complete sounding song.
Well, those very rarely go under like memorable vocal parts, right? They tend to be kind of isolated, and so to try to just shoehorn one in where it's, I mean, like Tom would not have done that.
No,
I'm
and
offended.
Tom is deeply not classy, but he still is not that unclassy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
I'm sure Mark would appreciate that little jab at Tom. We're getting some Tom jabs.
Give him Tom. He's not perfect, but he's so wonderful. Okay, so real covers now? Are we into real covers?
Real covers, Sam.
Great. We only got through 4 videos before real covers. Mark, this is what I deal with every week.
Mark,
I do this once a
now,
week.
guess what, Mark? Now he's gonna send me the time codes, and I'm gonna have to plug in all the audio edits, and then
Yeah, Mark knows what it's like to be the one who does all the work too. So, sorry,
Mark, pick a side. Pick a side, Mark.
Yeah, we got to. By the end of this pod, you need to have chosen one of us and follow them. Let us know by following one of us. Just give us a follow.
Mark, we need you.
I'm at
Mark.
Sam Sutherland with no vowels in the last name for some fucking reason.
That's very seen of you.
Yeah, yeah. I was really into that
That's
band.
very youth large with a silk screen on the hip kind of vibe.
No, I was always like a men's small, very tight around the everything.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm trying to think if I should chef it up or what. I've written down. How many do I have here? I'm gonna skip. Okay. I know what to do. I'm
Okay.
gonna play you what I've written down as a scary rock cover.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember why. I think it's just like really bad, so it was scary. I don't remember what anything means at all. This band is called Junior Martian,
Yeah,
I think.
that's a sick name.
They've spelled Martian wrong, so it's Martain. Junior Martain. And yeah, this was uploaded 5 months ago. So let's hear what they did with the song. Sorry.
Do you hear? Shut up, I can't listen no more. It's late, so shut up. It's one night so much to ask for. You're a haunted house. You're superstitious. You're on a college phone, come over faces. I won't find down that fucking rabbit hole. I'm buried standing on the ground. On the inside.
So much doubling, it sounds like gang vocals.
Yeah, like I'm wondering if it sounds so weird because maybe they tried to isolate something and put it underneath, but it wasn't isolated enough. So it sounds like the real song is also buried in there trying to escape, but they're pounding it down.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see, I feel like they might actually be Junior Martin because that sounded very French. Are they very French? Like, there's some accent aigus in there, absolutely.
Demo cover colaborativo con Lucas Paredes del Tema. It doesn't look like, it looks like maybe Spanish to
Yeah,
me.
Colaborativo con is like, we're definitely into Spanish, yeah.
Oh, Argentina.
Oh, okay, tight. Still could be Junior Martin.
Yeah, but bad job. Don't do that anymore.
That wasn't scary, though. Like, are you scared right now?
Yeah, I am, because it sounded like hell. Like I was picturing that the song had gone to hell and was trying to escape, but
It's like Event
Junior
Horizon.
Martin was like poking it with a pitchfork,
Right,
trying
okay.
to keep it down with its. I was mad.
Okay, so in your specific version of this, yes, it's quite hellish.
Yeah, but actually, I think the next one is even more hellish because now we're back into fucking full-on tuber territory.
Yeah, my people.
So Seb Sadobra has released this. I don't know what to say except that, well, you'll see. I will say that the visuals, he's very trickily made it look like he's two different people by hiding his blonde hair under a beanie.
What a sneaky beanie man.
All right, here we go.
Dear head, shut up. I can't listen no more. It's late, so shut up. It's one night too much to ask for. You are a hound at house. You're superstitious. You are the cold that stone carved marble faces. I won't fall down that fucking rabbit hole.
I actually really liked. I didn't like. I don't.
There
like
was a lot of harms that I figured you might be into.
Well, I don't like the voice. Like, I don't like the particular sort of like the way he's delivering it. But the way that he reimagined the opening, I thought was legitimately kind of sick. Like, it sounded like a cool Blink song. And then the minute that he moved on to the next section, I was like so regretful, very sad, very questioning of my own morals.
This is one of those. I think this is one of those ones where the covers make you appreciate the original more because Mark was classy enough to just make it a fast punk song. There's no temptation to go halftime and be all like showy with it, other than the outro, I guess. But you know, that was way too much.
Yeah, I totally agree. I hated it.
Well, since we're sort of doing a bit of a companion again, I got to tell you, the Strooms are back.
Oh, those Strooms! Yo, I'm gonna like make a DIY Strooms back patch. Like, I want
have
the
a really
Strooms
good
to write
logo,
a theme
too.
song for this pod.
The Strooms have a really good logo. So everyone, if you didn't hear it last week, you got to check out the Strooms. They fucking rock.
The Strooms are they on Facebook? I'm gonna like the Strooms.
Yeah, let's both like the Strooms right now. Well, actually, I'm going to do one better for the Strooms. I'm going to play their original after we hear this quickly.
Oh wow! So we're giving
time-
Strooms some airtime, eh?
Yeah, I don't need free beers to shout out my friends in the Strooms. Wow, they have 1.4. They have 1.4K likes.
Yeah, the Strooms are more popular than Blink 155 on Facebook.
Well,
The Strooms
hopefully we
don't
can ride
need
their
us.
coattails. So I don't know how to say this, but I believe in what was the language? Is it Indonesian? Right? Yeah, they're from Indonesia.
Yeah.
The translation here is gay memo call. So GAE and then memo call. So that's how you say rabbit hole. I guess we're learning stuff here. So let's hear what they did with the song Rabbit Hole.
Are we gonna hear it?
Oh, fucking the Strooms. They've done this thing where they film themselves walking up to their instruments at the start.
Okay. So
Fucking Strooms over here.
Yo,
Love you
don't-
guys, though.
yeah, come on. Give the Strooms some leeway here.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Start the song, boy.
Gumi, si buaya, kejang pada jengah. Liu, naunnya, temannya masalah. Dia minum arak, matanya parah. Demannya malah senang cara pala. Sempurnanya menggae memedong.
The Strooms, baby.
The Strooms. Okay, so it looks like the drummer from the Strooms just got married, I think.
Oh, congrats.
So congrats to the drummer of the Strooms, Egiaka Giovanni II, which is also an insanely sick name. At least I think that's what that means because I'm just sort of using the words that look like English words in this otherwise Indonesian Facebook update.
Well, big congrats to him. I love the Strooms. That was not as much of a shift that they had done with whatever we talked about last week that I don't even remember. No Future.
Yeah.
That was like more of a down tempo. But again, they've still made this song their own. They've slowed it down a little bit, made it a bit more of like a bludgeoning rock song, and I like it.
And they changed the lyrics, right?
Oh, the lyrics were, I think, the same, but like in their.
But that's
their
what I mean.
language.
They
yeah,
like, I'm
that's
not-
really cool.
I mean,
yeah, it's cool.
They've gone to some effort to sort of translate it, and I would love to know sort of if they've retained the sort of exact is it a literal translation? Is it more of a spiritual translation?
Right.
So if anyone listening to the pod speaks Indonesian, please tweet at us and let us know sort of if it's sort of a 1-to-1, is it a Google Translate situation, or have they taken any liberties? Because I can see our friends the Strooms sort of having some fun with this one.
Right. And so since time is of no issue, I'm just going to play a little bit of the Strooms' original music
Yes.
before I get to the last two covers. So here's the Strooms with their song Sing Daddy Keto, which is, I
So
assume,
good.
not a song about the keto diet. Daddy is on it. But here's the Strooms with Sing Daddy Keto.
dari ghetto, jadi pasin dari ghetto. Sing dari ghetto, yang masing pasin cara ghetto.
Hell yeah, the Strooms rule.
I was so worried when you started it. Like, I was legitimately tensed up because I was like, what if it sucks? And it did not suck because, of course, the Strooms are the greatest Indonesian pop punk band.
Absolutely. I agree. I take back all of the things I said about the people of Indonesia earlier that we had to edit out.
Yeah, dude, it's fine. It's not in the pod.
So the Strooms are clearly better than Mark, and that's settled.
Do you think the Strooms are listening? Should we start addressing the Strooms directly?
Yeah. When I say you, I'm talking to the Strooms.
And when I said I'm talking about Mark, it's going to be complicated.
And when we say Thomas, no one knows which member we're talking about.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so I found something that I've never... I haven't found this exact thing before. I found something similar, but I found an accidental Tavi. So
what?
I found a girl who I think very unintentionally sounds a lot like Tavi Gevinson of Rookie Mag, the teen media magnate.
Okay.
Who I love. I love Tavi. I love the movie Person to Person. A lot of people hated it. Specifically because Tavi was too, that sort of enunciated, like, you've heard Tavi talk before, right? It's
yeah.
Like, she's very, but yeah, this girl, her name is Blink-182 Love Forever, both of those words spelled with U's. This was requested by Natasha Gautier, so thanks for requesting it of her, despite it only has 64 views, but let's make it 65. So Skyvy is the accidental Tavi. And I just want you to know that when I say this, it's because this sounds like very Moldy Peaches, as we've talked about. Sounds like Tavi is singing it. But if you look at her like YouTube channel and look at what she wears, she's not like, I don't think that she's like an indie kid or whatever. She's like into gaming and like posting about, different, like, she's more of like a sort of Comic-Con kind of person. So I think that's why I'm calling her an accidental Tavi.
Okay.
So here we go.
Dear head, shut up, I can't listen no more. It's late, so shut up, there's one not too much to ask for. You are a haunted house, you're superstitious. You are the coldest stone, or marble faces. I won't fall down that fucking rabbit hole. I'm barely standing on the ground.
Accidental Tavi.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to love anything on this episode the way that I love the Strooms. Mm-hmm. Accidental Tavi is like my favorite thing in the world. That was so delightful.
She's so good, and I'm honestly really obsessed with her YouTube channel. She seems just like a girl getting through her life. It's not like there's nothing calculated. Oh, she's in Canada too.
Oh, fellow Canuck. Hello.
She has a lot of like I think some maybe furry art and some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles art, and like
so it's so
that
is truly accidental.
Yeah, it's not like and I'm not saying that to slight her, but I'm saying
it's so much better.
In my mind, an acoustic cover that sounds like that would seem like it's from someone emanating Juno soundtrack or a car commercial or whatever. But this is truly like just like this girl's not by some sort of marketing standards, quote unquote, cool. But that's why she's fucking cool as all hell.
Yeah, no, that's like one of the coolest things that we've played in a long time. I loved that.
Excellent. And I'm going to end it with something else that is actually great.
What is happening? Are you all doing this for you?
I'm doing it for I'm doing it for you.
Oh.
The Strooms.
Right, okay.
So I can't. I'm so glad I found this. I feel like we've never really played this genre on here before, but this is a hardcore edit, like a hardcore dance music edit.
Oh, shit.
Similar Outskirts 2.0 is the name of the SoundCloud user who has released this masterpiece, and it's just a 32-second clip, so I'll play you the whole damn thing.
Hell yes.
Here we go.
You are the coldest stone. With you again.
What happened this week? You just blacked out and played all rad shit.
Well, I mean, I think what has happened is you've forgotten all the horrible things that I played before.
Right. Well, actually, you're right. When I look at the notes, I see 2 dudes in a bath. Tom version. So, yeah, you're right. The notes tell a very different story than my emotional state right now. But as it stands, I'm quite grateful. So, Josiah,
I don't know what to say.
Well, what are your final thoughts? Or, sorry, do you have something else to say?
I just think that Blink-182 really does lend itself to that style of like Dance Dance Revolution sort of dance music.
Well, yeah, I think
people do it with the hits, as we've discovered, like not specifically with hardcore, but people do it with the hits. But I think all of these songs have the melodic basis for what you would need for that.
Yeah, totally work in that context. Because I think Adam's song I don't think it had hardcore covers, but I remember that was the first time, because there was an Adam song cover exclusive that we did, and that was when I was like, we need to do an all Adam song dance party called Adam Songs. The next time you're in Toronto, most likely in September, put it in your calendars, just the whole month, just block it off. But this sort of shows, that they all kind of melodically can work in that world, which is sick.
Mm-hmm. Which I guess leads me to my final thought, which is that this song is a hit, and everyone is dumb and wrong. And like, I think that they were expecting the wrong things from Blink-182, but this song is like a low-key hit, and if you actually have paid attention to everything Mark's done, this is with his best work, some of his best work. Maybe not like top tier, but like it's up there. It's really good.
And what about your final thought on just like me and the state of our relationship?
Well, Sam, I think that the you thing you did in this episode was really funny, and I just want to thank you for doing that.
Yeah. Cool. So my final thought is sort of similar. I mean, especially now having gone through the covers and stuff, like this song is one of your best. Now I can't do it because now you've complimented it and it feels very tired and trite. But this is like A+ Mark material, especially like in this era. It's like these are the bits of Mark that we need to grab onto and celebrate and lift up and encourage him to like embrace more. And I think it's a shame that maybe they thought the song was going to be like a fan favorite and it sort of landed with a little bit of a thud, but just like amazing Skiba performance, great lyrics, great bridge, just all around a mostly excellent song that I enjoyed.
And where's my compliment?
And, once again, Josiah, I appreciate that you do all of the work on this podcast, and I just get to show up and kind of giggle and drink soda water for an hour, or beer. Sometimes I'm drinking Blood Brothers beer, but today I drank soda water. But you do all the work, and that's what I appreciate.
You turn your compliment into a plug for a brand, but you know what? I'll take it.
You know what? You got to monetize every little bit of your existence, or else you are literally leaving money on the table. So we have a guest this week. We almost had this guest a couple of weeks ago, but this episode I think is better. This is the one that I'm glad she's going to bring Mark into. Auntie Donahue, who's a fantastic writer, an old friend. We haven't actually recorded this yet, so Lord knows it could still not happen, which is sort of
this
what
could be
happened
the second time that we've done this preliminary intro.
The
that
intro
gets edited
that
out.
I did for Anne a couple episodes ago was similarly like hedging, where I was like, maybe she's going to be on, and you very rightly pointed out that if this intro is in the podcast, it means she's on. So this is Auntie Donahue.
Dear head, shut up. I can't listen no more. It's late, so shut up. There's one not too much to ask for.
So, Anne, I think I've mentioned previously on this podcast that you are sort of responsible for this hellscape that I found myself in, because many months ago you were at my house, which is where you are right now.
I am. I'm right here.
You were at the table where Josiah was only once. I know.
Oh my God.
It's a special place.
I'm better than him.
You are.
I know.
So I expressed to you, hey, I'm thinking about doing this podcast, and you're funny and on the internet and friends with Mark Hoppus.
Now, let's be clear. Like, we've never met. We are friends.
You and I?
No, I've never met you.
Yeah.
We know that already.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
coming into. You're a stranger.
This is a supremely awkward moment.
This
yeah.
is weird because I was just walking outside and you bribed me with a sandwich, and now here we are.
Exactly. It was a good sandwich.
Yeah, I mean, it was delicious. But Mark and I are Twitter friends.
Right. But you did tell me earlier that a lot of your Twitter friendships have turned into IRL friendships.
That's true.
Now, can we brag on the pod about the Twitter friendships that have...
I say we don't because nothing about that is cool.
Okay,
So why?
I'm going to go ahead and just say earlier you said you got relationship advice from a musician who once made a cameo appearance on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And that happened through Twitter.
I mean, technically it's a long story, but yes. So in my head...
Yeah.
Yes, we'll say that's fine. I was going to say in my head it sounds bad. No, you made it sound cool. You made it sound cool.
So I basically kind of like was testing the idea out on various people with this podcast. And
Right.
I said, would this be dumb? And I was waiting for someone to tell me not to.
Right.
And unfortunately, everyone was like, yeah, fill your boots, you fool. Including you.
I said that exact phrase.
And then I was also like, will you tell Mark about it? Because I see you guys dancing. You're in the mentions. You're doing banter.
We care a lot about the crown. And our bond,
Yeah.
I would say that our Twitter friendship began because there's this very, 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 very funny woman under the handle, oh no, she twitn't.
Mm-hmm.
And they're quite close friends. So I think like a conversation began a while ago that like ended up threading all of us together from what I think happened.
Yeah.
And then from there, I like clearly run to Mark for all crown feelings.
So do you remember, was that the thread that led him to follow you? Like,
I don't remember. I don't remember only because the last year has been a blur and I, have blocked it all out.
And you don't catalog every time a verified user follows you on Twitter because so many of them do.
Because I'm very important. Yeah.
My verified tab on Twitter, not to brag, but I mean, obviously am verified.
You're obviously bragging.
Yes.
Yes.
The only person in my verified tab is Josiah, the co-host of this podcast.
I thought I'm verified.
Yeah, but you and I don't go back and forth a lot on Twitter. Maybe we should.
I mean, would that up our hashtag clout? Is that a thing that people still use?
I think so. I think you can still get Molson ciders through clout. Those were the perks.
Those were and I remember getting them and I was like, this is useless to me. I gave them to my dad.
Right, yeah. So you don't drink, but I really enjoyed those Molson ciders and I was surprised and delighted, and now I'm giving them airtime.
Would you like Molson to give you some money?
We actually do have a beer sponsor of the pod. It's Blood Brothers Brewery.
Is that real?
Well, it's real insofar as friend of the pod, Patrick Wynn Williams, who is married
Claire's
to
husband.
Friend of the pod, Claire Richardson. I probably should stop using everyone's government names, but we're so many hours.
I thought you were going to say I should stop using into the pod. I'm like, yes, stop using the pod. Stop it.
No. The slang doesn't stop.
No.
But he, gave me 7 beers. I mistakenly said 3 beers, but he gave me 7 beers for free. And as a result, they are the official beer of the pod now.
What is the name of them again?
Blood Brothers Brewery.
You've earned one more beer.
I think so,
That's
right?
8 beers now.
And so I had said, I want to do this pod, and will you tell Mark about it? And literally, the first episode of the podcast, you tweeted at Mark, and then Mark tweeted at us, and it was like a huge moment in my life. And so I want to say, looking you in the eyes right now with a mic between us so people know that I'm doing it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So can you let go of my hand? This is getting weird.
I know, yeah. And wife of the pod is so close.
Why are you crushing my hair with your other hand?
I know.
This is getting very strange. This is not about Mark Hoppus at all.
It's not. So did you grow up a Blink fan? If you don't remember when Mark followed you, that to me feels like maybe...
I just don't remember when anyone followed me.
Oh, okay.
I really do mean it when I say the last year's been a bit where you're like,
right.
I don't know.
Because you were writing a book, you're starting your own podcast.
Yeah, it's just you're like, cool, Twitter's fun.
Yeah.
Or you're getting yelled at. Ew, goodbye. That's kind of my voice when I use anything on the internet.
It sounds intense.
It's very intense. But no, so basically in high school, I went to high school between 1999 and 2004.
I can't believe you remember the years. Well, you just wrote a book about your life.
I mean, I am super, super cataloged in my brain of only the most traumatic moments, and that would be high school.
High school, okay.
So there we go.
1999 to 2004.
Right. So Blink-182 at that time was controversial because the skater boys that I liked claimed they had sold out because Enema of the State got so big.
True. Skater Boys had a point.
So it was a very big point of contention because like all of us normal people liked all of the music that we like. Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. We loved like Enema of the State.
Yeah.
We listened to the old stuff too. Like I had Dude Ranch and I had the Cheshire Cat album one. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
You're ahead.
I know. I'm cool. I told you.
I know.
And then, but it all like, but you kind of almost listen to it in secret if you're on those cool snobby boys because they became these like strange purists in terms of pop and punk, and then all of a sudden you had to like punk that no one had heard of, and it was almost like the precursor to like the indie era where it's like, you haven't heard of them? That's because only I know about them.
Yeah, you're also like very much describing like hours of conversations that we've had on this podcast about like being these guys.
Right, and honestly, to this day, my favorite albums are still Enema of the State and Take Off Your Pants and Jacket because it reminds me so much of like two very distinct summers, and also I think I caught them right before it became taboo to like them, not cool. If
Right,
you were,
so
like,
you're kind of like frozen in carbonite.
Yeah.
Where you're like, it's nostalgia.
It's very, and it's fun. And I remember, like, I wrote a thing for MTV a long time ago, and I don't even know if it's on the internet anymore, but about how the conversations that Blink-182 kind of like engaged their listeners in through their music was very like male centric, straight white young male centric, and how almost like alienating it was as like a young woman because you're like, wait, is this how men expect sex to be? Like, is this what they, and like, and then like the older I've gotten listening to it, it's like, oh, that's it. They did a pretty good job of like speaking to a very specific narrative, male narrative, but I thought it's interesting because it's almost like when I listen to those albums now, it's like spending time with guys I actually did grow up with.
And then you kind of have conflicting feelings about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's interesting because we've actually talked about this a lot on the pod, the idea of like the kind of toxic masculinity and just like outright misogyny of a lot of old Blink. And so it's funny when you're like delving into a specific song. So like one of the first songs we did was Dumpweed, which is the first song on Enema of the State. And like the chorus in that is I Need a Girl That I Can Train. And it's weird to look at it now because like Mark is a very like politically elevated dude on the internet these days. But yeah, like how did you feel at the time versus how do you feel now when you go back and listen to those as like not a misogynist yourself?
I think that's the thing. As a teen girl, I was very like well acquainted with misogyny because it seeped into everything. It just dictated all of our norms. You did everything. If you were like I come from a place of like I'm a white cis hetero woman, so there's a lot of privilege there too. But I got you beat.
I have so much privilege.
You have so much more.
It's so sick.
I'm just below you though. Like, let's be honest. Yeah. So everything I did was for like male approval. So that's a very strange way to grow up because you don't determine taste for yourself. You determine taste based on what you think Mark will like. Not Hobbes, the Mark I liked in high school. Just trying to get his attention in Cambridge, Ontario in 1999. And then like, so when you're in it, like it's weird too because there's like some songs that are so like I think of the one oh my god, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, it's on there and it's just like na 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 na. Wait, what's that song called?
I know now I'm struggling.
Really wanted to if we're fucked up, you're to blame. I remember being like, yes, like those songs that are about like the system. Yeah, those I was like, fuck yeah. And then the ones where
that
it was
one is
like
parents are bad, teachers are bad. Anthem Part 2. So
and then like and then also when you get to like Josie and stuff, it becomes like almost a romanticized version of misogyny where there's like an obvious like miscommunication between the sexes and like you can tell they're getting a little bit older, and then listening to it now, it's like, I mean, I think we've all learned a lot, and I think we also like as people, and I think when you think of like when you look at say if you read like Mark's timeline now, he's somebody that's like, it's like, well, he's grown up, he's lived a life, had experiences, is married, has children. Clearly all of the, as you endure all those things and go through all those things, you change and you evolve. And I think of things that like I have said and done or said and did even like 2006 or on MySpace or like on ICQ. And it's like, how
un-PC was your MySpace?
Bad.
I'm going to like fuck up your whole career by like screen capping all your blog posts from MySpace where you're like, women should be subservient to men.
We should just bend to the whim of the masculine. Yeah. For me, I think it would have, it would be ICQ info boxes because we would fight against like other girls. So there was a lot of like
in the info box.
Yeah, like you would. This is like a whole thing. So like the girls at my school hated the girls at the Catholic school. So we would like in our info boxes just say the meanest shit about these girls and back and forth. And then we'd like go to a party they were at and like instigate a fight with them. We do that constantly.
But like based off of like ICQ was like the jump off of these fights.
Or it was like we all like you start like that. Yeah, basically.
That's sick.
Isn't it crazy?
I want to delve deeper on a different podcast into like ICQ info box culture.
100%.
So we're putting a lot of time into the spacing of the words in the info box, but it was just it's all like Matthew Goodband lyrics.
Oh man, no, we wouldn't have been friends. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'd have been like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's fine.
I liked guys that had like Eminem in their lyrics.
Oh yeah,
I actually stopped.
Far too homophobic for me.
Oh, well, you were smart. Then that was the right way.
But now I'm like, now all of my morals are out the window, and I'm like, Eminem's very good at rapping.
Oh my God, except he rapped about like killing his wife.
Yeah.
We've switched.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
in grade 12, I stopped talking to this guy named Mike because he wasn't like Eminem enough.
Really?
Yeah, I literally.
Sorry, did you say he didn't like Eminem enough, or he was not?
He wasn't like him
Eminem
enough.
Oh wow!
I went to see. I remember he was like kind of like a jockey, nerdy guy. And granted, he was for sure boning his ex-girlfriend the whole time. But I remember going to 8 Mile in theaters and being like, "Well, this is it. Mike would never do any of this. Mike is not Rabbit."
To be fair, the depiction of Eminem in 8 Mile is a largely sympathetic portrait, right?
100%.
Because he sticks up for his gay coworker or whatever, right?
Does he? I don't remember anything but that sex scene with Brittany Murphy that I remember being like, this is unattractive to watch. Like, it was one of those like movie sex scenes where you're like, oh.
Yeah, you're like, maybe that's what sex is.
It's like, that sounds odd. That looks bad. I think they're strange.
Do you think it's like, but it is interesting to look back, and again, this is sort of an experience that we're having in doing this podcast where you're like really in depth unpacking all of these songs. And so again, mostly a futile and stupid endeavor, but like, it's interesting to think like, what is the long-term ramifications of like that kind of language and that sort of point of view? Like, is it a problem?
I mean, oh God, see, I think that is a podcast unto itself. I think it's one of those things where if it's acknowledged and it doesn't continue, that's key to evolving as a person. But the thing is, we are the sum of all of our parts. So even if I want to sit here right now and be like, I've always been like a feminist and a vocal like advocate for people who may be marginalized, et cetera, et cetera. I for sure was not that person when I was 20. And I for sure was probably, and by probably I mean 100% very problematic and very selfish and very limited in my scope of the way I viewed the world and the way I viewed women and the way I viewed people of color. Like, I feel like I chose to be ignorant all the time because it was fun or funny and blah, 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 blah.
You can also blame Cambridge.
I won't, though, because it exists everywhere.
Yeah, that's fair.
It exists everywhere. And I also can't scapegoat my town just because I chose to be an asshole.
Beautiful Cambridge, jewel of the Tri-City
100%. Now, currently, Handmaid's Tale is filming there today. People ran into Elizabeth Moss and Margaret Atwood downtown.
So that's got to have a positive effect on just the general sort of wokeness of the town. Like, if you add in Handmaid's Tale production, like, that really skews the median wokeness in Cambridge.
We're very into dystopian futures because we're looking at the news and thinking, well, here's another one too. So, yeah, I think it's really complicated because I would love to sit here and be like, everybody, when they're in their like, fuck it, like, fuck you, you did it, you said it, da-da-da. There are certain things that for sure do deserve that. If you've like assaulted somebody or if you've like, been like outwardly harmful. And like, then again, that
Mark Wahlberg and you like beat up a Vietnamese guy because he's Vietnamese.
Yes. There's like, yes.
You probably are not deserving of our forgiveness. Don't eat at Wahlburgers.
And there's also like, but then also it goes down the other avenue of like, you may be sorry, but if that was still super offensive to somebody else, they're the ones that get to decide whether or not that's okay. So like, I can't be like, all of the things they said, it's fine, because I think that's very subjective. To me, listening to it, I'm not offended because, like when we talk about old Blink lyrics, because I relate to that kind of like, that problematic lens that they were speaking of that time. Doesn't make it right. And I'm not sitting here being like, everybody should feel this way. But I have my own relationships with misogyny. So I feel, okay, it's not the same now. It's okay. But if another woman would be like, actually, that does upset me, that's her prerogative.
That's valid, yeah. Also, those are mostly Tom songs, and we're talking about Mark this week.
Oh, okay,
And
I don't know. See, I'm not that well versed.
No, it's good, but that was actually my subtle transition out of
love
that
it.
to sort of move us into a bit of a sort of Mark closer, which is we've debated whether or not Mark is good at Twitter on this pod.
Yes.
And I just want to say, Mark, if you're still listening, if you started listening to this pod, if you're listening to it now, I'm always on your side. I know Anne's always on your side.
Yeah, totally.
How would you grade as a person who's successfully utilized the platform of Twitter to meet people who have cameoed on Buffy, amongst other achievements? How would you grade Mark Hoppus's Twitter presence?
I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he does a good job of, right now, especially the way Twitter is being used in terms of like, it's a real-time news channel, really.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very quick way of like analyzing news and relaying messages, etc. I think Mark is very smart in using his fan base to kind of like stoke important conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I think like sometimes people might be like, well, anybody could do that. I'm like, yeah, but not everyone does. And it's not like there's like a, undercurrent of like negativity that he's adding to it or like.
He's a very positive boy.
Yeah. And I think that is a very important thing because it's so easy right now to be so negative. And he's not positive in the term that he has rose-colored glasses on and is like using the platform to be like, everything's great if you just believe it is. It's like, this really sucks, blah, blah, blah. How do we fix it? Or like, what do you guys think? And da-da-da. And it's like, that is a super viable way of using that platform. That being said, I also just love genuine random requests for like gifs and imagery and any and all crown discourse.
Right, that's important. And now, have you guys met? I can't remember.
No.
So you're still waiting to like
waiting in the wings.
Okay, well maybe you can like tweet him, say we should meet up, and also you should listen to this pod. Like you can just bundle
do you want me
it
to do
all
that
together. If you could just like. Just put
Don't
it all.
you think I've done enough?
Yeah, no, I do. All things considered. So, look, you are, probably not in need of a platform like this to promote the things that you do.
I would love to
but,
have you
this
before.
podcast is coming out in like 2 days from this real time moment.
Oh my God!
What's important for you in 2 days that Anne needs to promote?
Okay, I'm launching my own podcast called
Sick.
Nobody Cares.
Sick.
That literally no one does, but it's also the podcast. Is what it's called.
And
but
I just want to say.
You care. You care so much.
Because you're setting people up to constantly do
you
that.
still haven't unheld my hand this whole time. This has been so nice.
Crushing
it's
your
incredibly
broken hand.
painful.
And by the way, has an extremely broken hand right now.
No, it's like a fucked up finger.
That requires surgery.
Yeah, probably. But right now the swelling isn't that bad. So there's that.
I would not, if I didn't know that your hand was
like
so destroyed, I would think that was a perfectly normal finger.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever.
So sorry. Okay, so you've got a podcast. It's about your fucked up finger.
It's only about that. It's literally just about like a list of all my injuries I've ever endured. No, it's I interview people who I think are interesting and great and cool and funny and smart, and they talk to me about something that they're obsessed with that nobody else ever wants to hear about.
Like 182, like individual, like B-sides.
You would be like you would come on and we would talk about that, and then we would talk about it would end up inevitably going down the avenue of like, well, what they meant to you and like teen years and blah, blah. It creates these really great conversations when you give somebody an avenue to like really go down like what they love the most. So
yeah, for sure.
There is that, and then you can follow me on Twitter at Auntie Donahue, and because I'm always promoting shit there, and God knows what I'm doing next.
And you have your newsletter.
I have a newsletter. Also, just sign up. Just go to my Twitter and
just
then
figure it out from there.
I'm not your mom. Like fucking figure it out. Jesus Christ.
Thanks, Ann.
Bye.
Shut up, I can reason no more. It's late, so shut up. It's not night to watch for.